Welcome to another episode of Evoke Growth, conversations that carry companies across generations. I'm going to share a little reflection here, inspired by a friend of mine who talked about his personal legacy as it relates to your company family legacy. So, as describing his personal legacy in retirement, he described it as this breaking up your time into three categories. He said you can try to divide it up equally, whether it be by quarter or the year. It doesn't always work out that way, but attempt to divide it up into thirds. And he called it the three G's. One is going to work, another is giving back, and the third one is goofing off. The giving back part, you think about it in the personal legacy of your life and work as how can you give back with philanthropy, maybe give back with money, your time, your talents and treasures, as they say. What I learned about in the family company legacy as it relates to giving back, it's really about listening and filling in the stories that we often see with that financial discipline, like I learned from my dad and those early mentors in the family company, that financial discipline. And we always think about, valuing the company and how much it's worth based on the revenue and profitability and the strength of sales and the market conditions that we all see displayed in those disciplined financial statements. What I found is there's a lot more value to be recognized in giving back, and really giving back in terms of listening to the people in your family company and the legacy there, to recognize the stories. And here's a tangible example I learned when I was preparing for the next family company. I decided to carve out a year to earn an MBA and build on my financial discipline that I've learned from Dad, and how he impressed our financial advisory team with his disciplined spreadsheets. I thought it might be time to formalize my education, and he used to joke with me if I was going to, am I going to stay in school my whole life? But that's because he learned by grit, and I wanted to build on that grit and foundation. And so in that 1 year MBA experience, I carved out the time to meet as many people as I could, especially in the university community, to learn their story. And so what I did is organize informational interviews. If you're familiar with these, maybe you've heard or you've been one of these top performing candidates who wants to join a great big consulting company with a solid reputation and very competitive hiring process. The informational interview is something that you organize with some senior executives in the company you're targeting to work for. And you learn from them what it means to be an ideal candidate. So you're trying to develop the inside track, whether it be what's the right internship to get, or how many internships should I have, and then how should I frame up and submit my resume so you can position yourself a year or two in advance to be that ideal candidate, and develop some of those relationships to help push your resume to the top. I took a different approach though. When I organized informational interviews, my only intention was to learn from those owners, first, second, third generation, and those key people in the company, their story about how they got to where they did. Like one person who shifted from the trading desk in Wall Street, very successful, made a lot of money, not sorry that he did it, and realized when his children were about to approach the age of 10, he said, wow, I haven't really spent much time with my children, and I'm losing the time. I'm not going to get that back. So he walked away from the trading desk and moved into financial advisory. Another one, a key person who the founder reached out to him when Westinghouse Electric back in my hometown of Buffalo was about to go out of business, and said, have you ever thought about being a financial advisor? And he said, well, no, I haven't. I'm certainly not a person who can sell. I'm an engineer. And so the founder just learned his story, though, learned his strengths about understanding numbers and discipline, and taught him the business. And he said it was the greatest move I ever made. It's been a blast. And so I learned about those two guys. I started with the engineer, and he shared his story for an hour, and he was so kind to validate my parking too. And as he was doing that, he said, hey, I've got the guy from the trading desk who just started a few weeks ago. How would you like to learn his story? So that was another hour. And what that's meant in learning the family company legacy beyond the financial discipline and beyond what you've built and those sales and profitability is learning from people. And I've learned by organizing those informational interviews, they can be so much more valuable to give some perspective to those numbers, not just in what you've accomplished so far, but what to do next and what that family company legacy really represents. From asking, listening, and learning from people what the actual legacy is versus what you think it is, maybe as your story as founder or a key person or next generation owner. There's so many stories that you can learn from people. And I learned this in actually bringing two family companies together. The importance of listening and learning from people along the way. And it wasn't an hour interview. Some of those conversations were just a few minutes. But piecing those stories together was how I recognized the future value of those two family companies and honored the legacy of both in the process. One was very strong with operational excellence, the other one very strong with that sales excellence and building those conversations in the marketplace. And to realize those synergies was really about listening to people and understanding how it relates to that financial performance as well. So, from giving back to the personal legacy, to giving back your time and attention to building the company legacy, inspiration for you, I hope, to continue learning the rest of your story, not just about what you've done so far, but what to do next, and keeping that great tradition of the family company legacy and recognizing opportunities for innovation and the strength of those relationships to share that expertise and build that great legacy going forward for many years and generations to come. One takeaway thought for you to build on. I like to always give something again, just like my friend with his giving back and going to work and goofing off. In terms of giving back, think about what your next chapter might be in terms of listening better and how you might open up some of those channels of communication, not just to give a big speech, but to listen more to those people and recognize the true value of your company legacy. We'll talk to you again next week. Thanks.